you get a divorce. You live in this state of survival for so long. It is not easy. It is not easy going through a divorce. Marriage was a success.
Yeah. I look at it as like a curriculum. At the end of that curriculum, and at the end, there's a graduation.
Now that the season is over, I've done a lot of reflecting.
What's up, guys? It's your girl Rivah, and I'm back again with another video. So recently, Mowry dropped her, last episode of the season of her reality TV show, Mowry, My Next Act.
Now that the season is over, I've done a lot of reflecting.
And, I wanted to address something before I even get into my opinions or my thoughts about anything. It's the fact that, I've seen a couple of times in my comment section where people are like, oh, you don't like Tia, you got a problem with Tia. And I wanted to address that, right? I want to go on record and say I personally have no personal issue with Tia Mowry, okay? But what I will say is that in this situation, I think that, another perspective is definitely necessary.
You don't see these stories being told. You just see the beginning and the end. You don't see what happens in between.
I have no dog in the fight in this situation. The only thing that I think is extremely necessary is that women hear an alternative perspective. And the reason why is because a lot of women leave relationships prematurely. A lot of women, just decide one day that they graduated or they want to leave their relationships or their marriage. And a lot of the reasons why is because women have a problem with being accountable for their own actions.
I feel like she doesn't want any of our input right now. And I can only respect that.
The majority of women out there, they have a hard time realizing that, you too can be wrong in a situation. You're not always right. You're not perfect. And there are things that you can do that can add to the demise of your relationship. And in my opinion, from what I've seen from the outside looking in, this has been a grand example of that, right? Maybe there are some things where you felt like your husband or your ex-husband was at fault for all these things in a situation, but maybe there was more that you've done in that relationship than you're even willing to acknowledge, again, because you don't like that light shined on you.
Yeah, the thing is you don't care. You think about yourself. Wait, I know you as being selfish all the time, so that's not how I know you as being selfish. That's your assumption. That's not my intention. Yeah, that's not my assumption. That's your action.
So I always hold women accountable. I offer a different perspective so that women can understand that you have to go through the ebbs and flows and fight through things in the relationship. And sometimes, even if it annoys you, even if it hurts your feelings, even if you have to cry about it, sometimes you need to look within yourself, have that mirror shined on you, so that even if that relationship ultimately doesn't work out, and even if that man ultimately doesn't take you back, that if you're no longer in the relationship, you can find and achieve better results. And if you are in a relationship and you're having a tough time, that you can fix and repair your relationship to be able to positively move forward.
Speaking about divorce, I think the thing that I am often struggling with is guilt.
So, I wanted to just come on here and give my whole, synopsis of my opinion of the entire show, right? I've been doing it pretty much, after every episode, just giving you guys feedback for those of you who have not watched the show or who have watched the show. I've always given you guys my take from what I've seen. But I want to just kind of to go over the overall, situation of every single thing that happened. So, as we know, she started off this season immediately talking about, the controversy with the fact that her and her sister, Tamara, are no longer close.
It's times like this when I feel and wish that my sister and I were still close and I could, pick up the phone and call her. But that's just not where we are right now.
And then she also talked about the fact that, she was super heartbroken about the fact that the two, her and Corey are no longer married, and now they are raising children in separate households instead of under one roof.
I feel like one of the hardest things that I've had to adapt to is dropping my kids off at their dad's house. I've always wanted the family dynamic of having a mom and a dad in one household.
Tia then proceeded to go on a series of different things, trying to prove to everyone how happy she was that she got a divorce. She enlisted a crew of these friends, you know, and I have to do the air quotes on friends, which we're going to have a whole separate conversation about these quote unquote friends. But she had these people in her corner who were, you know, throwing her out there. And again, a part of the sisterhood of trying to prove that you bad out by yourself. You don't need no man and you could do your own thing.
Tia being so negative about dating grinds my gears. I think that she needs to just like explore what you might want, what you might be interested in. It's healthy. It's nice. Like, let's just have fun with it.
Throughout the journey of this TV show, you know, Tia also ended up coming up and talking about the fact that, you know, throughout different phases of the situation, she felt like she made a mistake. You know, she regretted the fact that she actually even filed for divorce in the first place.
This stuff happens because it makes me feel like I've made a mistake.
A mistake of what?
Of getting a divorce. So when I'm going through these challenges, sometimes you want to go back. The only person that I ever loved in my life was my ex.
And which we know, this is something I said from the very beginning, right? I didn't need her to come on the TV show and admit that she regretted her divorce for me to have already formulated my opinion based off of the actions that she had partaken on, you know, social media prior to her releasing the TV show, right? We already seen, like, you know, whether she was, you know, constantly dancing on social media or when she made that post of, you know, her being in her quote unquote hoe phase.
I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm in my hoe phase right now. Happiness over everything. Where's your mind?
Now, in my opinion, and this is all my opinion, you know, I believe that just after seeing the entire season, it was only 8 episodes, you know, I believe that this was something that was done prematurely. Okay? In every single episode of this TV show, Tia was boohoo crying about Corey and about her divorce.
It's not easy going through a divorce. I got tired of people thinking that everything was perfect when it wasn't.
Tia, you shouldn't have to act in your life.
Yeah, and I think I lost me.
There was not one single episode that we did not see Tia shed a tear and, you know, of anything that was unrelated to the fact that she got a divorce. And I think that this only enforced the ideology that when women go out and do things and they do things on a limb, that every decision that they're making is the right decision, right? Like, it's like, oh, you know, if you want to ruin your family because you feel like the spark is gone or you're trying to find yourself or whatever the case is, like, you can do all these things and that you're going to be happy regardless of the decisions that you're making. But we clearly see that that's not true.
You feel lonely even though you have a tribe around you.
Yeah, I do. And I'm tired of feeling that way, to be honest with you. He's still in my heart, you know? And just to think about someone else feels weird.
You're going out here and you're, you know, again, you have these homegirls pushing you to the forefront. You're trying all these different things. You know, this cookie cutter image that we saw you as being like somebody who is, you know, the girl next door, a sweetheart or whatever. You're so desperately trying to break out of that shell that now you cross over to waters that you had women who were, you know, diehard fans of Tia on the internet like, girl, you tripping.
Now, I'm a fan of Tia's, but I'm about to hit y'all with something that y'all don't want to hear. And I don't give a Tia don't need a show. She need a therapist. I said it. I said it. Every other mother word she crying. And is this unfiltered? Is this real?
In my opinion, I think that this only aids to the things that women will do that are not going to give them positive results. Right? Because this is singing the tune of, oh, you know, when you go out there, you're definitely going to have somebody, or if anything, your girls are going to be there to support you or whatever. And that, you know, you're definitely going to find better, which in this situation, we had never seen Tia, get into like a relationship, a serious relationship. We saw her date some guy.
What? You want me to kiss you?
Basically, I'm telling Charles, even though I've enjoyed our last few dates, I think we're moving too fast. I think it's best to end things now before it gets too far.
And then on the last episode of the show, conveniently, she calls him back to be back in a relationship with him. And again, I think it's just more trying to prove to herself or prove to other people that she got it like that and she has a roster of men that she could pick, choose, and refuse. But in actuality, we know the truth.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to call you and say, I know that I originally said I wanted to take some time, to myself. I was hoping that, I don't know, maybe we could continue, getting to know one another.
A lot of women decide to leave their relationships because of their ego, right? They think, oh yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm going to leave you. And when I leave you, I'm going to get better. There's better out there. These men are going to be knocking on my door, waiting to be in a relationship with me. Oh, just because, you made me a wife, don't think that other people out here don't view me the same. Like, I could easily replace you. A lot of women have this idea of themselves. And then when they go out there, it's all fun and games when you're in the same house with the man. When he's still coming to bed and when you can still see him, you can talk all the big game that you want to. But you see, when reality really strikes and that man is in a separate household from you, you are now doing your own thing and you're out there in the dating world and you're not getting the results that you thought that you would. That's when a lot of these women sing a different tune.
They say that self-love and spending time with yourself and all of that is important. But what is wrong with me saying I want a partner? Saying I just want someone to hold. And someone told me and to hug me, and what's wrong with wanting that?
Unfortunately, Tia has now been a part of that group of women, in my opinion, in which, a lot of the regret that I saw was only because she could not find anybody else out there. Because the results were not what she thought they would be, that's when we heard her on the TV show saying like, oh, sometimes I feel like I made a mistake, or, oh, sometimes I want to go back.
We're talking about the speed dating situation.
I need the tea.
It was a show. It was hell.
So what do you want to do? What's your best case scenario?
I think I'm just going to die alone.
A lot of women do this. They go through the 304 phase. They go sow their royal oats, and when they want to come back to what's comfortable or the person who will actually prioritize them, because they realize that all these other men out there only want to be with you for an evening. Okay? They're not trying to invest in you. They're not going to have the same value about your children that you have or that their father would have had. They're not willing to go through the ebbs and flows with you.
You don't know if it's real. At least I know Tia got my back, to the grave. So I know she's with me and she knows I'm with her. And that's just, everything's not perfect.
They are just there to experience you for a time and keep it pushing. Especially when you're in a certain age bracket, and especially when you've already been married and have children. I'm not saying that it's impossible, that it would never happen, but it's a lot different for a woman who has had a family structure. And again, you've publicly come to the internet and have publicly talked about the fact that you left your marriage, not because he cheated on you, not because he added any physical harm, but because you just quote unquote decided one day that you graduated from your marriage and now you're going to get a divorce and break up your family structure.
Marriage was a success. Yeah. I look at it as like a curriculum when you're in college or high school, right? You're learning, you're growing, you're evolving, you're creating. And I was able to create with Corey some beautiful, amazing children. Yeah. And at the end of that curriculum, and at the end, there's a graduation.
In my opinion, I believe the takeaway is that a lot of these women need to see that you can pretend that you're happy as much as you want to, but you need to seriously consider the options of what your life will be like if you decide to step away or step out from your relationship. Because, it might sound all good and dandy. You might see these people who are pretending to be happy and pretending to live their best life. Again, we could see right through the quote unquote happiness that Tia is portraying that she has, because we see the tears, right? And a lot of other women need to understand, like, will you be okay if you go out there and there's no one on the other side of that? Will you be okay if you never get into another long-term committed relationship again after you break up from that situation? Will you be okay if you walk out of that relationship and there's nobody on the other side of that? Will you be okay if you decide to separate yourself from somebody who is committed to you, again, committed to the relationship, and there's no one else who's going to prioritize you? Are you going to be okay in that situation?
I'm not going to be here like, everything is bro. You have to work hard, to stay married, and stay together. You know what I'm saying?
There are times when I'm like, wow, like last year was pretty tough. But this year, it's good that we stuck, to it.
There's a truth that, there are things that you can genuinely work through within a relationship. And to be honest, whenever relationships break up, the person who normally suffers is the woman. The men eventually are completely okay. You know, in the beginning, it's like the woman is on cloud 9. Oh, yeah, I'm bad by myself. I got it like that. You know, I'm going to go out there and go find me a man that's going to take care of me, that's going to do all these things.
I'm all about inspiring and encouraging. And I mean, the DMs that I have gotten from so many women that are going through the same thing and just saying how they admire my courage and my strength.
And the man is more heartbroken of the fact that, you know, the family structure is broken out.
You know, it's tough when it feels like you're going through something alone and no one understands, and, you know, no one's there for you. And it's just like, you know, when you're a man, especially a black man, they're like, oh, he's tough, he's strong. But you know, it was a year and a half crying myself to sleep every night.
But you see, he will get over that. The woman is the one who over time gets more and more depressed of the decision that she made. Over time, the woman is the one who, as the years goes by, is constantly reflecting on if she made the right decision or not.
So when I'm going through these challenges, sometimes you want to go back.
And that's more oftentimes than not, right? I'm not saying 100% of the time. I'm just saying often. A lot of women who use their ego and decide, oh yeah, I'm going to be selfish. You know, self-love is the best love. I'm going to focus on me. You know, I'm tired of doing this. I'm tired of playing this role. A lot of them get a rude awakening. And what's sad is that sometimes these said women end up chasing that their past, or they're haunted by if they made the right decision for a long time, and they're constantly trying to find that same man that they left in the relationship.
December 25th, I was proposed to. I was at my mother's house around Christmas dinner, and the song by Jagged Edge started playing. And Corey got down on one knee in front of my whole entire family and asked to marry me. This relationship, when dating was, when I was, dating this person, it was beautiful. It was amazing. It was wonderful. There was courting that was, involved. And I was saying how I feel like that's no longer.
Which leaves them often unsatisfied because no man will ever be good enough because they're not the man that you were with before. Tia said so often in the in the show, like, oh, I'm used to this, and I need a guy that's gonna do this for me, and I know I want this because all this. Mind you, Tia also said that she's so inexperienced. The only guy she ever dated was her husband.
I've never dated.
That's right.
I've never dated. Corey was my first.
Right. Yes.
Everything.
I know.
Now she out here, going to strip tease, stripper licking whipped cream off of her. She licking the whipped cream off the stripper. Like, just out here just going balls to the wall. Another thing is that Tia, she went out there on a limb and she talked about, different reasons as to why, that led to the divorce. And one of the situations was she said that, it wasn't all, happy and dandy when she was outside, and, she felt like she was acting in her real life.
I got tired of showing up at events and people thinking that everything was perfect when it wasn't, like I would go home and feel alone.
You shouldn't have to act in your life.
Yeah.
Next thing was when her TV mom, Jackie Harry, came to her house and they were talking about her divorce. And, it was basically, Jackie was basically saying that it was because of the fact that, she was the breadwinner in the relationship, and because Tia's ex-husband, Corey, was not making the same amount of money that Tia was making, and there was jealousy in the mix.
Somebody else was dissatisfied because they weren't working.
No, I know, you're absolutely
right.
One
partner makes more money or has more success. There's a gap that is so hard, and it can't work out.
Yes.
And it can't have competition. It just does not work.
Ironically enough, she was upset or unfulfilled in her relationship because the funds weren't there, and because she was quote unquote acting, and she felt like he would be ignoring her and all of these things. But I wonder if women realize that a lot of times they prove that nobody can make them happy. A man could bring water from the moon to a woman and it will never be enough. And the reason why we know that is because Tia was unhappy within the relationship. She was unhappy within the marriage. She got divorced and she's still unhappy.
Saying, I just want someone to hold. And someone told me.
That lets me know it's an internal problem. So maybe if we go back, maybe it's not a lot of the things that Corey was or was not doing. Maybe it was just something that was going on with you. And I said this before. A lot of women who are in relationships and in marriages, they're doing things that men never ask them to do. Men never ask you to lose yourself. Men never ask you to not prioritize yourself, your well-being, your mental health. Men never ask that. Women will play a role because they think that's what they're supposed to do, and then get mad at the man as if he is the one who forced them to do it.
So it was more about trying to please everyone else as opposed to really looking inside and loving me.
No man ever has ever said, don't wake up and go to the gym and prioritize yourself. I don't want you to do that. I want you to be here with me and be in my face all day. No man has ever said that, but women will pretend that men have said these things and then have, build all this resentment against the man who never requested that from you. He wanted his woman to be the happiest, healthiest version of herself so that it can breed positivity within the entire relationship. But women hear otherwise and then again blame the man.
I do have a feeling and a sense of freedom following my divorce.
I believe, in my personal opinion, that Tia was just at a point of trying to find herself, right? I don't know if she hit a hump. I don't know if she was watching other people outside and felt like she never got to experience or she never got to do, and it's not fair that she was never out there. And she just decided to make this rash decision and do this thing and did not consider all the repercussions of that it would have not only on herself, but on her family structure as a whole.
I wasn't even allowed to date until I was 18 years old. I met Corey when I turned 20, and I lost my virginity at 25. There, was that it?
Again, in my personal opinion, I believe that this was done very prematurely. Okay? I think that the focus, maybe it could have been a 1-2 episode on what the breakup was, and then it should have been navigating her life otherwise. I believe that the TV show was called My Next Act. Again, in my opinion, I think it should have been called Let's Talk About Corey Hardrick. Okay? Because that's what every single episode was. Every time she reminisced about Corey, she was so emotional about the situation. And again, I still believe it's because she misses him.
You get a divorce. You live in this state of survival for so long. It is not easy. It is not easy going through a divorce. Oh, no.
And this is just my opinion, right? I believe the only reason why she is not trying to spin the block is because what other people will think.
Let me just say how proud of you we are, because the easy thing would have been to go back to being unhappy and settling.
I also believe, in my personal opinion, that the only reason why she even went to with the divorce is because maybe she had an idea, but she stayed outside because of what other people will think. That's my opinion. And I think it's just crazy that, people who were even siding with her, they felt her, they honored, her decisions, ended up looking at her in a different light simply because of the TV show. I think that speaks volumes. I'd like to know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear you guys' whole thought process on the TV show, on the episodes. What was you guys' opinions? Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And I will see you guys in the next one. Love you.